Imagine if I told you that 6 invisible forces subtly undermine your happiness. You may not even be conscious of the forces of clarity and tranquility, but they impact every thought, choice, and interaction you have. In a world full of noise, distractions, and pressure to achieve more, these aren't your loud, obvious enemies. Rather, they're the things that are preventing you from living the life you deserve. Today, we will explore these obstacles and transform your viewpoint, as they frequently serve as the unseen hindrances that most impede our progress. Before we start, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on when we release new videos. The Stoics, ancient masters of simplicity and wisdom, taught us this timeless truth. In order to live a life of meaning, we must learn to let go. In this video, you'll discover 6 things you can quietly eliminate starting today to create space for peace, clarity, and fulfillment. Let's begin. Toxic relationships should be the first thing you get rid of in your life. Sometimes they appear harmless at first, but toxic relationships are often silent robbers of our joy, vitality, and tranquility. They can even masquerade as enduring friendships, familial ties, or love connections. Relationships that we feel obligated to maintain, but ultimately have a negative impact on our mental and emotional well-being, can be described as follows. You have a friend who continuously criticizes your choices or minimizes your accomplishments. They may claim it's a joke, but their words make you feel inferior. Or maybe you have a family member who manipulates you with guilt, making you feel accountable for their happiness. The worst part of toxic relationships is that they bind you to negativity, discouraging you from pursuing your goals or embracing new opportunities. They can convince you that you're not capable of more because they benefit from keeping you small. These practical steps will help you address and move on from toxic relationships. It could even be a partner who ignores your emotions, leaving you feeling unheard and unvalued. These relationships often persist due to fear or obligation, which you may justify by saying, "I've known them for so long," or "It's family, I can't just walk away." Begin by assessing your connections. After spending time with someone, do you feel exhausted, nervous, or frustrated? Or do you feel encouraged, energized, and appreciated? Keep in mind that a toxic relationship isn't defined by one adverse day, but persistent negativity does set boundaries. Silently, boundaries are crucial for maintaining your serenity. Start small by limiting the amount of time you spend with toxic people. For instance, if a friend is always complaining without listening, cut back on the amount of time you spend in those conversations, politely change the subject, or excuse yourself when needed. Not all relationships need to end in divorce. Sometimes, establishing distance occurs naturally when you put your health first. Decline invitations that don't reflect your values or choose to spend more time with positive people. If a toxic relationship must continue, like with a coworker or close family member, concentrate on managing your interactions, keeping them brief, neutral, and practical. Replace negativity with positivity. When you end a toxic relationship, you make room for something better. Look for connections that share your values and bring positivity into your life. Join groups, go to events, or get back in touch with friends who encourage and support you. Think of your relationships as a garden. By removing toxic relationships, you can gradually create healthier ones. This deliberate cultivation of your social circle will result in a more contented and peaceful life. Letting go of a toxic relationship can cause feelings of regret, sadness, or guilt. It's important to reflect on your experiences and forgive yourself and others. Forgiveness does not imply condoning their actions. Rather, it entails letting go of your grudge. The second thing you should do is to stop seeking affirmation all the time. This is a trap that many of us frequently fall into without even recognizing it. The issue with seeking validation is that it puts your self-worth in the hands of others, giving them the ability to control how you feel about yourself. This leads to a vicious cycle where we crave the approval of friends, family, co-workers, or even complete strangers on social media to feel worthy or accomplished. It begins innocently enough with a compliment here or a like on a photo there, but over time, this external validation becomes something we depend on. More you seek approval, the more you need it to feel safe. Without it, you feel inadequate or invisible. Social media has made this problem much worse because with every post we make, we expose ourselves to criticism from hundreds or even thousands of people, and while a few likes or encouraging remarks may provide momentary joy, they're actually depleting dopamine. Rush fades fast, leaving us yearning for more. The desire for continual approval isn't merely a habit. Rather, it's a prison that keeps you in a dependent condition where other people define who you are. The good news is that you are empowered to break free. Let's examine how Stoicism provides a means of overcoming the need for continual validation. It takes time, but it is completely achievable. The secret is to turn your attention inward and develop a sense of value independent of approval from others. Here are some doable actions to assist you in doing so. Awareness is the first step. Be mindful of instances where you look for approval. Do you feel the need for praise at work? Do you nervously check your phone after sharing anything on social media? The first step in breaking these behaviors is realizing they exist. Establish your own criteria for success rather than gauging it by the responses of others. Make your own norms. When you define your values and objectives, ask yourself what success means to you and what type of person you want to be. You develop a self-assessment system independent of an external input limit. People often use social media as a significant source of validation. Setting limits on your usage, limiting the amount of time you spend posting or scrolling, and taking regular breaks are all ways to break this habit. Practice affirmations in appreciation. Affirmations are an effective way to develop internal validation. Every day, remind yourself of your strengths and achievements, such as, "I am worthy and capable regardless of what other people think." Accept failure as a way to grow. Individuals often seek validation due to their fear of failure, but Stoicism teaches us that failure is not something to fear, but rather an opportunity for growth and learning. Accept errors as a necessary part of the learning process. Emotional disengagement. Lastly, emotionally distance yourself from other people's viewpoints. This doesn't mean you stop caring for others. Rather, it means you stop allowing their opinions to dictate how you feel. When someone criticizes you, consider whether their viewpoints coincide with your own. If not, let it go. The third thing you should do is to quit being overly committed to someone. People constantly urge us to embrace new opportunities, duties, and commitments. There is frequently pressure to meet the wants and expectations of others, whether at a job, with family, or in social circles. At first, it may feel powerful to say yes to everything, as being busy is often perceived as a sign of productivity and success. However, the reality is completely different. When you take on too many responsibilities, the quality of your work starts to suffer. Tasks that once brought you satisfaction start to feel like burdens as deadlines pile up. Similarly, when you overcommit, burnout quickly results. Imagine a plate overflowing with food. It can only support so much before it collapses. Stress levels increase, and there is little time for relaxation or introspection due to the constant juggling act. What's worse, when you're overly committed to duties that don't fit with your beliefs or objectives, it weakens your feeling of purpose. it gets more difficult to concentrate on what really counts. Life begins to feel less like a path of development and fulfillment and more like a list of responsibilities. It takes deliberate activity to break the cycle of overcommitment. Here is a useful framework based on Stoicism to help you take back your time and concentrate on what really counts. The initial action is clarity. Spend some time thinking about your long-term objectives and guiding principles. List your priorities and ideal life, then use them to guide your choices. When a new opportunity or request presents itself, consider whether it is consistent with my values. Will this help me achieve my goals? If not, it's a blatant indication that I should stop practicing. The ability to say no can be difficult, particularly if you're accustomed to pleasing people. However, keep in mind that every yes requires a commitment to your limited time and energy. Being able to say no is a sign of self-respect. After you've gotten rid of pointless obligations, make time for the things that are really important. Utilize the time you've gained. Make a conscious effort to schedule time on your calendar for the activities that are most important to your relationships and overall wellness, personal development, or innovation. Activities. Adopt a minimalist approach to your responsibilities. You don't have to spend your entire day doing things that the Stoics deemed important. Simplicity and introspection. Give yourself time to relax and think. Use this time to refuel and reaffirm your principles. Recall that quality comes before quantity. All of us must eliminate material excess, one of the biggest issues of modern life. We live in a society that equates happiness with having more clothes, a larger home, newer technology, and advertisements that tell us we must buy more things in order to feel successful or even worthy. It's more beneficial to focus on a smaller number of tasks and excel at them rather than overcommitting and becoming detached from others' expectations. Finally, let go of the fear of disappointing others. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control others' reactions, only our actions. We frequently feel less content the more we accumulate. Beyond stress, material excess diverts our attention from what really counts, causing us to become preoccupied with the cycle of obtaining, preserving, and improving belongings rather than experiences, relationships, or personal development. We put in more hours at work to pay for unnecessary items, and we use social media to compare our lives to others. We judge our value based on the possessions we own, but what happens when the novelty wears off? A stylish piece of furniture or a sparkling new car rapidly loses its attraction, leaving us looking for the next purchase to make up the difference. This never-ending cycle of spending depletes not only our financial resources, but also our mental well-being. Releasing yourself from material excess doesn't require you to give up all you own or live in an empty house. Rather, it involves changing your perspective and bringing your surroundings into line with your principles. These useful actions will assist you. Adopt a minimalist lifestyle and develop a self-sufficient mindset. Declutter your area by thinking about why you buy and cheapen certain things. By challenging your belongings, you'll start to distinguish what really matters from what is just taking up room. Decluttering isn't about tossing anything away. It involves establishing a setting that promotes your well-being. Sort the goods in one room of your house, like a closet or drawer, into 3 groups. Inexpensive. While you declutter, donate, or throw away. Remember Epictetus's advice. The things you own end up owning you. Get rid of anything that doesn't bring you joy or serve a purpose. Practicing gratitude and joy feeds the idea that we are lacking something. To overcome this, express gratitude daily and think about how your possessions benefit you rather than what you lack. Gratitude changes your perspective from one of lack to one of plenty, lessening the desire to buy more. Implement a one-in, one-out policy to stop clutter from accumulating. Make it a simple rule to discard old items whenever you bring new ones into your house. This promotes balance and attentive eating. Instead of spending money on things, turn your attention to EXP experiences. The Stoics valued relationships and experiences more than material possessions. Spend money on experiences that foster happiness and development journeys. Spending time with loved ones or learning a new skill can bring about enduring happiness that material belongings cannot match. Adopt the practice of having enough so that the next time you feel the need to buy something, stop and consider whether you already have it. You'll discover that what you have is enough. This simple question can help you overcome impulsive buying. Put your inner wealth first. Excessive material possessions divert us from our own development. Make the most of the time and effort you save by decluttering to develop inner richness, wisdom, kindness, and self-control. You can maintain your composure and focus on what is really important by keeping a journal, practicing meditation, or reading Stoic philosophy. One of the most frequent barriers preventing people from realizing their full potential is fear of failure, which creeps into our minds. What if I'm not good enough? And what if I make a mistake? Are whispered concerns. These queries have the power to paralyze us and keep us caught in a vicious cycle of inaction and hesitation. For example, consider someone who has a strong desire to start their own business but never does so out of fear of losing money or facing criticism, or someone who is passionate about art but keeps their work to themselves out of fear of criticism. In both situations, fear stands in the way of their goals. The more we allow this fear to influence us and prevent action, the more we internalize it. A narrative of inadequacy causes us to begin viewing failure not as a normal aspect of learning and development, but as a reflection of our value. Even worse, procrastination and perfectionism are frequently the results of fear of failing. Fear of failure robs us of our time, confidence, and potential. But what if we could change our relationship with failure? We often postpone starting projects, hoping to find the perfect moment or circumstances that never materialize. Or we become obsessed with perfecting every detail, leading to exhaustion and a lack of satisfaction at the end. What the Stoics believe that we should embrace failure as a powerful teacher that shapes us into stronger, better individuals rather than fearing it. It takes doable actions to change your relationship with failure. These Stoic-inspired techniques can assist you in redefining failure. Act in spite of your fear and welcome ambiguity. Begin by reframing your definition of failure rather than viewing it as an indication of insufficiency. Give yourself feedback from every setback to learn what works, what doesn't, and how to improve. Your perspective changes from one of self-criticism to one of self-improvement when you reframe failure as a teaching moment. Take tiny actions. Often our fear of failing overwhelms us because we concentrate on the journey rather than the initial step. Divide your objectives into more achievable steps. For instance, if you're scared to start a new job, start by learning about it, speaking with experts, or enrolling in a single course. Rather than viewing your acts as failed experiments, develop an experimental mindset. Consider these to be tests. Every attempt yields information that helps you improve your strategy. This viewpoint promotes curiosity and adaptation and lessens the pressure to succeed. Practice. To develop resilience, the Stoics frequently engaged in voluntary discomfort. For instance, they may fast on the ground or dress just to remind themselves that they could face hardship. You can put this idea into practice by intentionally stepping outside your comfort zone. Begin modestly by speaking up during a meeting, attempting a new skill, or sharing an original project. Failure becomes less daunting the more agony you endure. It prioritizes effort over results. Change your focus from results to effort. Acknowledge that you tried regardless of the outcome, and keep a journal in which you document your efforts and consider the lessons you have learned. This practice supports the Stoic idea that success comes from acting rather than from accomplishing goals. The epitome of perfection. Reframe fear as an indication. Rather than avoiding anxiety, fear of failure frequently indicates that you are about to take on an important task. Consider it an indication that you're maturing. Consider the worst-case situation, which is frequently much less dire than you may think. Lastly, acknowledge your mistakes as growth milestones. Discuss them with close friends or co-workers and think back on what you've learned. By normalizing failure, you'll reduce its impact and inspire others. Negative self-talk is another significant issue we need to eliminate from our lives. This silent, continuous voice is something that many of us deal with on a daily basis, frequently without even recognizing it. For some, it's a mild background noise, but for others, it's a deafening roar that drowns out all other thoughts. It's that harsh inner critic that whispers, "You're not good enough, you'll never succeed, or why even bother?" Think about the times you've let that inner voice prevent you from trying anything new. Perhaps you wanted to apply for a job but thought you weren't qualified enough, or you had an idea to start a creative project but believed no one would care about it. Over time, negative self-talk doesn't just hold us back. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more we tell ourselves we're not good enough, the more we believe it, and the less we try to break the cycle. However, the truth is that your inner critic isn't who you really are. Rather, it's a collection of fears, doubts, and outside influences. You can break it, just like any bad habit. The Stoics understood this well and provided effective tools to silence the inner critic and foster a healthier, more constructive inner dialogue. These useful techniques, which draw inspiration from Stoic philosophy, will assist you in overcoming self-defeating thoughts and developing a positive inner voice. Awareness is the first step in overcoming self-defeating thoughts. This process changes your perspective from self-judgment to self-inquiry. Once you've recognized and questioned a negative thought, reframe it into a constructive one instead of saying, "I'm not good enough." Pay attention to your thoughts throughout the day, noticing when your inner critic appears and what it says. Is it triggered by a mistake or by comparing yourself to others? Ask yourself what success means to you and if you have succeeded in similar situations before. I'm constantly learning and getting better, so reframing doesn't imply dismissing difficulties. Rather, it means seeing them as possibilities for progress, as Marcus Aurelius proposed. The obstacle to action advances action. What gets in the way of practice becomes an obstacle. Self-compassion. When you make a mistake, tell yourself that it's a necessary part of learning and, rather than thinking, "I'm so stupid for messing up," try to say, "I made a mistake, but I can learn from this and do better next time." Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd give a friend. Acknowledging your efforts and development, celebrating your little victories, and reminding yourself of your strengths are all part of practicing self-compassion. This technique combats the inner critic's negativity bias. Make use of affirmations. Affirmations are an effective way to rewire your inner voice. Jot down affirmations that align with your values and ambitions, such as, "I can handle challenges." Every day, especially when your inner critic emerges, repeat these affirmations, allowing them to gradually become part of your default thought process. I am sufficient in my current state, and I am constantly learning and growing. Being mindful allows you to see negative ideas objectively and disengage from them. When a self-critical thought arises, acknowledge it and then release it, similar to watching a cloud, using techniques such as body scanning, deep breathing, or meditation. Drift away from your own standards. Determine what success and self-worth mean to you. Don't let society or others influence your priorities. Make sure your behavior reflects your values, and remind yourself that your value is independent of your accomplishments. I am Head King. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. If you found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Your support enables me to continue making content like this that hopefully has a positive impact on your life.